Thanks, bud. So we're out here on the Street Twin today. Got Philadelphia in my mirror. We're just going for a little Friday afternoon cruise. So this is my girlfriend's bike. She upgraded to this bike a few months back, and I've really grown to like this bike a lot. Honestly, in a lot of cases when I'm just riding the city, this is the bike I want to take out. I love the Scrambler. I love escaping the city on that bike. I could go on all-day journeys on that bike. But when I'm just kind of cruising the city streets and ripping up the urban zone, I think this bike is a perfect match. It's a very compact bike, but it is full size. It's definitely like teetering on being a big bike, but in the middleweight category. I have some things that I really love about this bike, and mostly I'm loving these things from my girlfriend's perspective, because that's really how I think about when I ride it. I've really been her main confidant in learning how to be a motorcycle rider. She's taken a lot of the advice I've given her, and she's grown pretty quickly. She's only had her motorcycle license for 1 year, and she's riding a 900cc Bonneville at this point, so we're making progress, that's for sure. One of the main things I like about this bike for her are the gear shift indicator and the RPM gauge. Because on the Monkey, she didn't have that. She just had to listen to the engine, which I think is a really great way to learn, because it teaches you to listen to the engine, and that's huge. But I also think that when you're learning how to ride a big bike like this that has gobs of power, relatively speaking, for somebody who's coming off a Monkey, this bike has gobs of power. It really helps for her to be able to be like, oh, I'm in third gear right now and I'm going 35 miles per hour. And that just sticks in her memory banks, and she can remember that. So if she's ever coming to a turn and she needs to go down to 35 miles per hour, she's like, okay, third gear. That's where I want to be. Let's go take a look at this bike on Lemon Hill. Talk a little bit more about it. Biggest gripe about this bike. This kickstand is so hard to find. Right there. You have to use your heel, get in between the foot peg and the exhaust pipe, and get it out. I understand why it's designed this way, because it's pretty tight down there. But man, it takes some getting used to. I've got it. Now I know only use your heel. You can't take really any other approach to it. But yeah, that took some getting used to. So let's talk about this baby. I've done one review on this. It was a quick overview, but now I've had some time to really ride it and really understand it. Mostly the reason I want to understand it is because I'm trying to help my girlfriend learn how to really approach this bike. Coming off of her Monkey and taking on this 900cc challenge, she's been intimidated, to say the least. She loves it. She definitely thinks it's a sexy machine, and she likes the fit and profile. But she went from 220 pounds to 475, so it's definitely been a learning curve. We just installed this Jivvy rack. That's clutch. We have a top box on here now. I don't have it on right now because I'm just doing a little sporty ride around the city, but that has been clutch. We took a little picnic trip last week, packed a bunch of stuff, went down to the river. It was a good time. We went with the Jivvy rack over the Triumph rack because the support has about 8 or 9 pounds more of a capacity. And when you're putting stuff on the back of a bike, 8 or 9 pounds is a nice extra load to have. Alright, let's talk about the suspension on this bike, because I think it's one of the biggest gripes that I've seen in reviews about it. And I can tell you from my perspective as a rider, I would agree with those gripes. I can tell you from her perspective as a rider, she would never notice the difference. The only time it bothers me is when I'm on the freeway going more than 60 miles per hour, taking a turn, and I hit a bump. That's the only time, and it's only the front suspension that bothers me. So if I was the rider, I would upgrade the forks. But from her perspective, we live in a city with potholes everywhere. When you're going 20, 30 miles per hour down the road in a straight line, it's nice to have that soft suspension. So take it how you wish. It's all about the rider, not always about the ride. And that's kind of my 2 cents on the suspension. The brakes, I think they're damn good. It's only a single disc up front, single disc in the back. But the discs are good. I like that the back is Nissan and not Brembo. I think it's kind of cool. I know that's a budget thing, but these Brembo front brakes, they squeak. That back brake, it is quiet. And even though Brembo should be the better product, and I know I probably could just change the brake pads or put some grease on them, that still drives me crazy that it squeaks. Plus, it's a brand new motorcycle from the dealer. Why do I have squeaky brakes? That's the biggest gripe I've had with both my Triumphs so far. On my Scrambler, I have Brembo front and back, and they both squeak. I really love this stainless steel exhaust tip. Like, for a stock exhaust, it's pretty. You know, a lot of times stock exhausts are just ugly looking, and they sound bad. And in my opinion, this bike sounds good. It's not loud, and it's not crazy, but it just has like the right sound. It fits. It fits everything that it needs to be for a stock exhaust. And the engine overall is just smooth. There's not a lot of vibration going on. Like, even upon revving it, it really just doesn't shake or anything. My buddy has a Harley, and that thing's just bop, 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 bop the whole time. This guy is smooth. The heat distribution, it's not the best. We bought this bike in the winter, so we haven't seen the worst of it yet. But one day my girlfriend got home and she had a hole burned in the side of her pants, and I was like, what happened? And she's like, I was stuck in stop and go traffic for a while and it burned my leg. So, you know, it could be better. I think where she burned herself was right around in this area. So we'll keep an eye on that. She sits on the bike different than me. Her legs hang lower. My legs are up more on the tank. I haven't personally had an issue. I really love this headlight. So this is a halogen light. And halogen's an older technology. But I was out on a dirt road. Not a dirt road. We'll call it a back road. And the pitch black the other week. And I put the high beams on and I could see so much farther than I'm used to seeing. It was a really good illumination. It gave me more confidence than I've had on most motorcycles for lighting at night. And anybody who rides motorcycles knows that it's kind of a hard thing to do at night. Lighting is, I mean, without a bunch of extra auxiliary lights, you don't really see very much. But she really is pretty. She just got such a nice, pretty profile. And such a rideable bike. Like, even with me having experience, this is like the beginner level Triumph. Beginner level only in the sense of its price. But it really rides nice. Outside of these tires, I'm not a huge fan of these Pirelli Phantoms. They're just not that good when you're taking the corner. Like, once you get down to this side of the tread, something's wrong. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel right. So once these wear out, I'll be happy to upgrade to something better. I really love the information on here. Traction control, total miles, trip miles, your instant mile per gallon, miles till empty, clock. We have it in military time on this bike. My Scrambler, I can do military time or regular time, but she can only do military time, and it drives her crazy. RPM gauge, that's where I leave it. I'm a huge fan of the RPM gauge. We also have modes for rain and road. Other than that, it's a pretty basic setup. High beams up here on my left pointer finger. Do have hazard lights. That's really cool. I don't know any other bike that has hazard lights that I've ridden so far. I'm sure some of the other premium bikes do, but I found that to be a nice feature. Adjustable brake levers. It's very user friendly. I've been leaving them on 3 for her. I also like that they go this direction too. It's just like a nice little bit of play to have in there.